can you discuss the 9 pornos that you shot?
Well, it's how
Well, I mean, as graphic as just try to keep it as a very hard PG-13.
okay, all right. Very hard is ironic. Let's see. So when I got out of film school, I felt that if I owned a camera, I could call myself a cameraman without feeling like a dilettante, because I owned a camera, therefore I'm a cameraman. So a buddy of mine from film school and I bought a used 16 millimeter camera called a CP16 Reflex. Now, this is way before video. So nowadays, anyone can just buy a Sony A3 or a Nikon or a Canon or A7 and call themselves a cameraman. But back then, no one was shooting video. There was no, video except, at studios and stuff. So I owned this camera with my buddy, and he knew a guy who was a porn producer and director. And so he got us this job shooting 9 feature-length movies in 9 days. They were 20-hour days.
Oh, my.
But by having 9 days of rental for the camera, it paid for 2/3 of what we paid for the camera. So it was worth it because now we were 2/3 of the way there. And but it was horrible. I made a contribution because at film school, everything, film was so expensive, 400 feet of raw stock to buy it, develop it, print it, so at film school, you always pre-planned everything. You did shot lists. You knew exactly what you're going to shoot. You never shot masters. You always knew where you're going to be in the close-up and only shot those lines. So what I introduced block shooting to pornos. And what block shooting means is block shooting, let's say if you're doing a streaming television show and you can only get Alec Baldwin for 2 weeks, let's say, you shoot all of his scenes in those 2 weeks, no matter who he's, even if he's in episode 1, 4, 7, and 9, that's called block shooting. So what I convinced Dick, the producer and director, to do.
No pun intended.
No pun intended either. Very hard. 13 is that once we lit a set, be it the bathroom or the kitchen or the bedroom, we would shoot all the scenes for any movie that took place in a bedroom. So we would shoot scene 3 for movie 1, shoot scene 7 for movie 2. If it was in that bedroom, we were already lit, and we would just shoot that. We also had a dentist set, which was incredibly unerotic, and because who wants to, it's, and also water picks are really not sucking devices. They're sucking devices. They're not projectile devices. So it made no sense. And also, you don't want to think about having sex in dentist, yes, or I didn't, but.
No, it doesn't seem very apt. I mean, the dentist is probably one of the more painful, non-comfortable places to be in your life as a general statement, let alone thinking about having sex in that environment.
And there's not a lot of room there or anything. So, so in any case, we shot those 9 features in 9 days, and things went horribly wrong on the last day. And without going into the details, I ended up, when a double insertion, some call it a double penetration, went horribly wrong, I ended up being covered in foamy, liquefied, warm, effervescent human excrement.
Oh, that's an amazing description.
The problem is I've always been a very wide-angle guy. When I was shooting stills with my Leica, I used a 21 millimeter.
Yeah.
I would say half of the shots in any movie I've ever shot or directed have been a 21 millimeter or wider. And 16 millimeter, the equivalent of a 21 millimeter, is called a 10 millimeter. So I was this close to the action when Mark Antony pulled out of this woman's anus, and it was as if her body was a bottle of champagne
Oh,
that had been shaken way too long. It was literally a fountain of warm human excrement that immediately covered my face and the camera.
oh.
I put the camera down and then threw up on them because I was so disgusted. Why hasn't this scene made it in one of your many features or shows? Well, I'll tell you the truth. I used to shoot commercials, and I was shooting a series of UPS commercials for an agency called Ammirati and Puris, and I told them the story. People used to hire me to hear the story because it's about a 20-minute story. It goes on and on and on. Anyway, I tell the ad agency the story. I'm done. And the next thing that happens about, 2 years later, it turns out that the next director after me to shoot commercials for these guys was Kevin Smith.
Okay.
They told Kevin the story, and Kevin stole my story. What? And directed a movie called, I don't know, it was something like Someone and Someone Make a Porno.
Yeah. What's her? Zach and Mary Make a Porno movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Rogen. Seth Rogen
and Elizabeth Banks. Yeah.
I never saw it, but I hear that he stole my scene.
Wow.
Have you seen the movie?
Oh yeah, of course. I've seen a lot of Kevin's work.
Well, I think that there's a scene where I
don't remember that
penetration.
I promise you that I promise you there is. I don't remember it because I tend to block things like that out of my my psyche. But I did, right? And I haven't seen the movie in probably a decade when it came out. But I'm sure that scene's in there. And wow, And have you ever spoken to Kevin about this?
I haven't, but his people emailed me and said Kevin is releasing the special edition DVD and wants you to talk about your porno experience. And I said, are you kidding? He stole my story, and now he wants me to also let him interview me for his DVD. So I didn't do it.
Oh, all right. Well, so I'm kind of happy I asked you the question, but I'm kind of not. So
right.
It's amazing because I've heard. I'm originally from South Florida, and in the South Florida market, when I was coming up, there was a lot of guys who I started off as an editor before I became a director, and there was people like, hey, we gotta do porn, and like that pays the bills. I never ever once got the opportunity. I never was even asked. I'm sure I would have done it as a younger man. I'm sure I would have edited it. But I could only imagine shooting 9 full-length feature film pornos in 9 days. Not only is that exhausting, but you must become numb to all of it. Like, I'm sure, like, for the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then that's it.
Yeah, not even 5 minutes. Maybe. No, it was never cool. It was never fun. I always say that if they released porns with smell-o-vision, no one would ever see a porn again. Although, truthfully, they would probably dub in different smells like vanilla and cherry and stuff like that.
And pine.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was horrible.
Did you learn something though? Did you learn stuff? Nothing. You learned nothing.
Oh yeah, I learned. Well, here's what I learned. I learned that nothing about filmmaking.
Okay.
What I learned is that the set on pornos is a very feminist-driven set.
Okay.
The females have all the power. The actresses have all the power because they can either help or hurt the guy. Help him with his erection or just be so mean to them that they're soft and flaccid for hours. I also learned that the average time between cum shots is 4 hours. It takes 4 hours to get a cum shot. It takes about 15 minutes to do the, dialogue. Oh, hi, is your sister home?
Did someone order some pizza with extra sausage? Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it takes about 20-25 minutes to shoot various sexual positions. And then Dick would say, okay, we're ready for the cum shot, at which point the other cameraman and I would dim the lights. We'd just rest our backs against some set wall and take naps. And then it would take between 3 and 4 hours for the guy to be able to come. So that's how we were able to work with so little sleep, is we had many naps during the days while the guy, and if you looked at your chart, so you could only do 5 shots a day, because 5 times 4 is 20 hours, and you needed 4 hours to just, I was the only one who went home. Everyone else, the crew was Dick, the other cameraman who I owned the camera with, a guy named Eric, who was the gaffer and sound man. Right. And then we had a woman whose job it was, she was a paper towel girl. And what she did is after...
You don't have to, no. You don't have to go into details. I completely can connect the dots.
Okay, good.
I hope everybody listening can connect the dots, because I don't want to go into the details of it. It is fascinating.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of my favorite origin stories of any filmmaker I've had on the show. It's amazing.
Well, that was my first job out of film school, graduate film school, shooting 9 days.
9 on film, no less, and on film, and 16. I'm assuming, right? Yeah, was it 16?
Yeah,
16. Amazing.